There we go. Look at us. We are live. What's up, everybody? It's a Tuesday night, which is weird. Usually we do this show on a Wednesday night, but more travels ensue. So called the audible, and Roger and I are hanging out Tuesday night. We got Roger Sullivan in the house from Provision Processing. What the heck you doing,
Hey,
Roger?
what's up? What's up? I got my beverage. I'm prepared.
I was going to ask what you got over there. Looks like
I got some. I got a Weller old fashioned.
There you go. Do you have just a badass ice making machine, or did you go out to a glacier and chisel that, or where'd you get that big ice cube from?
No, it's just we've got one of those the forms that you just put in the thing. But there is a guy here in Florida called the Ice Doctor, and he's got the purest. There's a couple bars that we go to that his ice is so pure, there's no impurities in it, and as you're drinking it, like it just doesn't melt. Like you finish your drink and it's still there because there are zero impurities in it. It's amazing.
It just looks like a glass ball floating around in your cup.
It really is.
What I don't know any ice science. Do you know how they do that? Like, is it just pure water? Is it frozen at a different rate? Like, how the heck do you get a pure ice cube?
Yeah, I think it's like ultra purified, and there's like no air in it. So when you look at an ice cube and you see the white, that's like it's like oxygen and impurities in it, and there's nothing. Like you can literally look through his bourbon and it's completely clear. So because there's no impurities in it and there's no air, it just doesn't melt fast at all.
That's pretty cool. I have the opposite thing of a cool drink. I don't even have any beer in my fridge right now, Roger. I don't know who I am anymore. I think it has to do with the jet lag coming over from the Philippines. I don't know what day it is. Earlier on our radio show, I was like, "Happy Wednesday, everybody!" And Trevor on the show goes, "Well," and I was like, "It's a weird Wednesday, man." And he goes, "Well, yeah, it is a Tuesday." And I no lie, I had no idea it was a Tuesday. Like, I don't know. I time traveled.
When did you get back?
I got back on Sunday, like mid-afternoon. So I left Korea at 6 p.m. Sunday and got home at 4 p.m. Sunday. So I flew for 12 hours to go back in time 2 hours. And just trying to
Isn't that crazy?
Just trying to navigate that sleep schedule, man. I think last night I was close to getting back to last night was the second night, and I was close to like getting back to a sleep schedule that would be for a normal person. I think tonight is the night, though. I think I'm gonna get it. I think I'm gonna sleep like a normal human. It'll be cool.
Nice. So you fly from Korea through LA and then back?
I didn't even have to. I just went straight Minneapolis to Korea. It's like a 12-hour flight, and then Korea down to Manila. So Korea was the only stop to get to the Philippines. Then once we were in Manila, we went down to Boracay. So that was like another hour hop across the islands. But
yeah. Man. Everything starts in Manila, and then you got to go from there. We were actually there for about 6 weeks. I think we were in the Philippines when we were traveling around.
Yeah, I heard 7,000 islands or something over there. Like,
it's insane.
I know now. I understand Moana so much better. Like Moana makes so much sense. How many, like, when you were over there, were you hopping around? Were you staying put? Like, what was your vibe as you were bouncing around over there?
Yeah, so we needed an internet connection, and I don't know if the internet has improved since you were there, but when we were there, their broadband or their fiber was like 6 megabytes. Like it wasn't real fiber. It wasn't very good. So we had to be tethered.
It was actually bamboo fiber. It was made out of bamboo. Yeah. That's
right. They've just hollowed it out, and they're sending signals through. But we had to be tethered. So anywhere so we had to stay in the major cities. So we were in Davao and Cebu City. We would go out for day trips, but we really couldn't get far because we had to be tied to internet. And if you left any of those cities, it was horrible. I mean, we barely got by with what it was, and staying in like really nice, brand new condominiums and stuff. With fiber, but the bandwidth was just rough.
What? How long ago was that when you were over there?
That was 2019. Was when we were traveling.
Yeah. So they were up and coming, but it wasn't, because I think now it must be better because there's so many like virtual assistant things going on over there. So I think they're getting there. I do notice our team, anytime a storm rolls in, which is often. especially this time of year. Like people,
which you experience because it's kind of the rainy season right now. So
yeah, it was. I mean, it was class. It was exactly what you'd think on a tropical island. It'd be like, dang, it's hot and humid out. Oh, here's a thunderstorm. Oh, 30 minutes later, the sun's out and it's nice out again. Like, oh shoot, here comes another thunderstorm. It would just like rain out of nowhere, and then you'd all run and hide. Although when it's 90 and humid out and it starts raining, you're kind of like, oh please, like every it was raining out and everybody like got under the roof and I went out and they're all like, what are you doing? I was like, this feels so good right now. Like I'm from Minnesota. Anything with a 9 in front of it on like a Fahrenheit temperature scale is out of my league. I'm melting.
Right, they're telling you it's gonna hit 34 today, and you're like,
yeah,
well, that sounds like home. And then until you realize that's Celsius, like, oh, this is bad.
It's burning. It's burning. It was JC Chanowski and I got up in the mornings to go running, and I'd like step outside, and you're probably familiar with this with glasses on. Like I'd have my sunglasses on, I'd step outside, and it was like I went from a freezer to a sauna, and just I was like, I can't see anything. Like I'd always like walk outside and wipe my glasses off like I was scuba diving or something. It would just immediate.
Yeah, every once in a while down here in Florida, I'll like walk out of the gym or something, and it'll be hot and humid enough outside that all of a sudden my glasses fog over, and it's like, oh, I'm back in Southeast Asia. This is I'm used to this. This is okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever. I mean, I'm sure I've had glasses fog up where you get like hot and you're working out or something like that, and I noticed it ice fishing, which is a hilarious comparison. But when I'm like out setting up the house and drilling holes and moving around, and you just get hot and it's so cold out, but like the heat from your body, just like when you're in the vehicle and it's cold out and you're warm, your windows will steam up. But I don't know that I've ever like walked outside like that where it was just like, I'm in a bowl of soup right now. Like I'm just in a sauna and then trying to like run. Yeah. Like running and you're trying to breathe. And it's like, I don't know if I should lick the air in, like with how thick it feels.
Oh yeah. Cause it's thick.
Yeah. Am I swimming? Am I running? Like, what do we do here?
Boy, that's the truth. I think the hottest place that I've been, the hottest humidity wise that I've been was probably Da Nang, Vietnam. I remember no, not Da Nang, Nha Trang, Vietnam. Okay. I remember we got there late at night, and we woke up the next morning. It was about 10:30, and we had breakfast, and we're like, oh, we're gonna go out and we're gonna explore the city. And we walked out of the hotel room and we started to walk around the block like we were gonna go out to the beach. And we got about a block, and then we turned around and walked around the block and went, no, this is a city that you visit at night.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're already soaked, and you're like, did it rain out? No, I'm just sweating that much. Just sweating that.
It was hot. And it was really interesting about Nha Trang. So Nha Trang actually has direct flights from Moscow to Nha Trang. So there's a giant Russian population in Nha Trang. So as we're walking around, all the locals thought we were Russian. And so they were trying to talk to us in Russian and say hello in Russian instead of everywhere else when they're just like, hello, trying to get your attention as an American. But they just all thought we were Russian. So you
could pass for a Russian. Just grab a glass, swap out the whiskey for some vodka. I think you could pass for a Russian. You can put that out.
Probably. Yeah. I think I could pull it off.
Next time. Learn a couple.
Next time, yeah. I'll have to learn a little bit. I'll have to learn a little bit of Russian.
Do you, having done like so much world traveling, do you and Amy still have like a bug to do that, or do you feel like you like got it out of your system, or is that just a thing that like never leaves your system?
Oh no, it's something that never leaves your system. I don't think that we'll travel long term like we did, like, oh, we're going to be, we're just like buying a one-way ticket and we're just going to, go where we've got roots again. We've got a house. We've got businesses, a couple different businesses that we run, and they kind of take our time. So, but we still definitely have the travel bug. Last year, we were gone for like 3 weeks, and, we'll go a couple weeks at a time. But as far as like leaving and like, all right, we're going to go to Vietnam for 3 months and then see, where we're going to go from there. Where's the next, visa, what's going to take us. We're not at that point anymore, but there's still a lot of this rock that we need to cover.
Heck yeah. There's a lot out there to explore. Cool stuff to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We were kind of cut short by COVID. We had plans to do a bunch more, and then that kind of stopped. So
I feel like you and I have talked about this in the past, but I can't remember what the answer was. Apologies. But do you guys have kiddos too? And so you're like trying to navigate that while you travel? How the heck do you do that?
Well, I mean, our kids are grown, we started having kids, at basically 8 and 9. Well, we joke it's 18 and 19. So, most people, they talk about how long they're going to wait to have kids before, they or after they get married. And we waited -3 months. So
Yeah.
we actually had a 3-month-old at our wedding. So, all our kids are older. So our youngest is 28, and then we've got a 30-year-old, a 32, and a 35-year-old.
Do you, this is a weird question, so I don't even know how the heck I'm going to ask it. Are you glad you guys had kids early? It's not like do you regret having kids? Because obviously, like once you have them, you're like sometimes you debate whether we're going to have another one.
Yeah.
Which was the logic that got my wife and I into having a third one, was because we were like, well, we don't know if we want a third one, but if we do, we're not going to regret having it, and if we don't, we might regret not having it. So, guess we're having a third kid.
Yeah.
Are you like, hell yeah, we nailed that? Or are you like, wonder what it would have been like if we were traveling around in our 20s instead of in our 40s and 50s? How, do you look back at it all and think about it?
Yeah, we do. And looking back on it really gives us clarity, because I think that, when we were younger and in our 20s and struggling, like we didn't have enough money to pay attention. Like it was rough because we had our kids so young, had no college education, didn't have anything to follow back on. So it was just like, we're just trading hours for dollars until we run out of hours. And then what do we do? Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have anything. It was all struggles. But by the time that our youngest kid graduated high school, I was only 46 years old.
Yeah.
And now we're established and we've got money. And so, we would like literally just, we'd be getting airline deals of like, oh, Southwest has got a deal for $49 to go to San Francisco this weekend. And so it's Thursday and we're like, F it, book it, like, let's just go,
What are we doing here?
And so as we're older, we've got the money and we're still young enough to be able to like enjoy each other and, and do all the things, but we've got the money to be able to do it, which we, in our 20s, what are we going to do? Go into debt and go to Cabo, at 24 years old and, just do stupid stuff? Like, no.
So a lot of people go that route.
Yeah, I think we made looking back on it, I think that we lucked out. I wouldn't say we made the right decision, because literally it wasn't really a decision. We got pregnant, and then once that clock started, my wife's like, okay, every 2 years we're on the clock. We're going to have 4 kids, and like this is it. So once that clock started, it started. But looking back, I think we lucked into the right decision. It was good for us.
Yeah, and I think any of those decisions, like you make them work, right? You just you do the thing that you're going out and you make the most of it. There is part of me, we didn't start having kids till we were like 30 and super enjoyed our 20s, had a really good time. And I feel like I don't feel like I'm too old to be a dad. I also act like I'm 8, so I'm like right there with my kids. I think it's probably my wife that's like,
that doesn't go away. You might start acting like you're 12 at some point, but that's
weird. I will mature. Here's what you're saying. I'll tell my wife that you said that. Like, no, it's fine. Roger said I will mature to be a 12-year-old. But I do look back and I'm like, man, I'm a little jealous of the people that like are younger with their kids growing up. Like there's just more in common, more similarities. And I don't know if they look at you different or anything else like that. As you guys are traveling around and running your businesses and stuff, do your kids gravitate toward the same thing? Like, are they involved in any of the businesses? Do they do traveling with you? Or are they all kind of spread out doing their own jam?
They're doing their own jam. So the youngest came with us for the first year, and Amy and I we think that all the brothers got together, and it's like, hey, we've got lives and jobs and girlfriends and fiancés and wives. You're going to go with mom and dad to make sure they don't end up in a bathtub missing kidneys, right? Like, so you're going to go. And so he went and he traveled with us for like the first year until he ran out of money and deemed that we were safe and we knew what we were doing, and then came back and went back to work. But
reported back to his siblings.
Yeah. I think that because we had our kids so young and that we were so close, they were very aware of the struggles that we were going through. They were very aware when there wasn't money. They were very aware when we made a mistake and got into financial trouble. And because they were so close to us, I think that in their minds that's what they know about mom and dad is like, okay, well, mom and dad, they weren't really responsible with their money. Didn't make very good decisions. And they're all doing fantastic. They're all doing great. But just to give an example of how much they don't listen to us. So we've been doing Airbnbs and short-term rentals for, since before COVID, and we really got a good handle on it. We've got systems in places. We got employees and housekeepers and total systems that run this thing pretty much all by itself. Our kids bought an Airbnb in Mesa, Arizona, and didn't ask us a single question. Like not one, didn't like nothing. And we're like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. It's your life, I mean, and they did really well. They're really smart, and they surround themselves with smart people, and they've made way better decisions than we made when we were younger. Of course, none of them had kids at 18 and 19. They all waited, but they're doing really well, and I'm so proud of them. They're all amazing kids and doing really, really well with their lives.
Did any of them like pick up the entrepreneurial itch, doing their own thing, but just getting into business ownership? Or do you see it in any of your kids that they would do that, like bow out of the corporate stuff?
Nope, not a one of them. One of them we tried to get to because he makes a lot of money, and so we were trying to talk to him like, hey, look, if you start a business, you can take advantage of some tax codes, and even if it's just a side hustle, just do something on the side. We tried to get him to manage properties for us and just have his property management license up to that state. And he did it for like a year and a half and hated it and didn't want anything to do with it and would just rather pay his double income, no kids taxes on the ridiculous amount of money he makes. I'm like, all right, up to you, man. That's fine.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
What I want to we take a step back in time here just to get some more of your background and have you like introduce yourself a little bit. Talk more about the traveling stuff and the property stuff, but set the stage for it a little bit and get into some of the merchant processing stuff you guys are doing and helping small businesses out now with. But as you were like raising kids, young family, having the ups and downs, take us through that journey, not the parenting side of it now, but like the business side of it. Were you getting jobs? Were you trying to start businesses? Like what was that evolution and ass kicking that you probably put yourself through?
Yeah, man. Well, I talk about, it's really cliche, but I do say that I'm a student of the College of Hard Knocks, and it's one of those colleges that once you enroll, you're never allowed to graduate. It's like you just kind of keep going, right? So, because I was young, didn't have a college education. I mean, the only thing that I knew how to do, Dan, was trading hours for dollars. That's all I knew how to do, and eventually you run out of hours to change, even though, you're doing I was literally like doing multiple jobs. And like, I worked at a movie theater, and then I worked at a movie theater at night, and I worked at a bank during the day. And then I picked up a weekend newspaper route, so I was doing like 3 things. And then I left the bank, and I had a buddy that was like doing power washing. And so I went to do I went to work with this guy doing power washing, and realizing I was really good at it. I was fast. I picked it up really quick, and I was a monkey on roofs. Like, this is back when everything was pressure. There was no such thing as a soft wash. This was just like, man, just crank it up and just rip the roof, right? But I was really good at it. And it was one of those, the owner paid, it was performance pay. So the faster I worked and the more that I did, the more that I made. And I got to a point after doing that for a couple of years that I was like, I'm only making like 30%. What if I did this myself? So I get into the trap of every trades guy that goes to work for himself. It's I can do this better. Little did I know that I was going to work for a maniac and have an insane person as an employee, the same guy. So that was my first business. I went to work. I started a pressure washing business. I graduated into doing general construction.
How old were you when you made that jump, and how many kids did you have? Like, because that was the biggest hesitation for me to leave my corporate gig and like do entrepreneurial stuff, is like, when's the right time Is there a time, which I think we know there's not, but like the hesitation of when am I willing to like take that leap and bet on myself, and how many kids do we have and how risky is it, and what is my wife doing? Like, where were you at in that, the other side of your life when you made that decision to do it yourself?
Well, first of all, just to clarify, you were talking about leaving a corporate job, so you had some stability. I was just trying to grasp onto something better. So I was 21 at that point. I just had barely 2 kids, and the name of my company was Sullivan and Sons General Contracting. So I had 2, and it was just trying to get out.
You were betting on them; they were coming. The Sons were coming.
Yeah. I mean, I had 2, so I had a 2-year-old and like a brand new 6-month-old, and that's when I got started and figured out like, holy cow, there's so much to a business. Like, what do you mean my general contractor's license is this much, and bonding and insurance, and like, wait, how much a year is that? And then my advertising budget was like Yellow Pages. So this is, back in like the 1990. So we were still like advertising in like the Yellow Pages and paying for blue ink and corner ads and stuff just so that you could actually get seen. But yeah, it was really young. It was really young getting started.
Did you ever think when you were running Yellow Page ads to put like a Sullivan and Sons? Like put an A in front of it to try to move your way up? Like, was that a strategy?
So there were things, guys that use, that's how AAA air conditioning got started, right? Because it was like, A+ air conditioning, and somebody was like AA, and then they went to AAA, and it was all about, that's how it started. It was all getting listed first in Yellow Page ads, but I spent the money on the blue ink. So blue ink was a new thing. It was like you had black or red, and then they started introducing blue ink. So I paid for a blue ink, and I paid for a corner spot. So when you turn the page, I was in the right page, lower corner, so that I could, So I paid for placement more than the name, and paid for a like a quarter page or an eighth page ad. So yeah.
How'd it work?
But that was $500 a month.
Oh damn!
Back in 1990, it was like $479 a month. Like,
that's like a couple grand these days. It sounds like
it was a lot. It was a lot. The wife wasn't happy that I signed that contract, but I'm like, well, you gotta spend money to make money, I guess.
I'm like old enough to have called numbers in the Yellow Pages, but not old enough to have run a business that marketed in the Yellow Pages. So I'm in that transitional period. I was in that period.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I remember just flipping through that, and I was like, unless I'm like looking for it, I don't know how you would find something in there. I guess it depends on how big your city is and everything else you got going on. But
so the evolution was, I started that business, and then something would always happen because I'm so young, right? I don't know anything, and so I would have a major catastrophe that happened. So I was, we transitioned into roofing, and we were on a roofing project, and I got super, super sick with the flu. I had like 104-degree temperature, and I left this job to my foreman, who was one of my best friends at the time. And it rained really heavy that night, and he didn't tarp down the roof properly. And so I'm getting a phone call from a customer coming home at 10 o'clock at night with 2 inches of water inside their house on their hardwood floors that I had to replace several hundred square foot of their hardwood floors and then strip all of it to match. And it was like, that's like a business killer, right? So it cost a bunch of money, and I couldn't recover this. So I ended up closing that business. And then I ended up like, okay, so what do I do now? So I went back and I waited tables. What do I know how to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to wait tables.
Trade some hours for dollars.
Yeah, just go back to what I knew, and I did that as stability until I got the next bright idea of what the next business was that I was going to start, and then learn about and go do. And that was a constant cycle in our lives for probably 15 years of starting a business and getting some success, and then crashing because of what I didn't know, and then going back to the safety of, or the stability of, trading hours for dollars until I got the next idea. And then it's always been about the entrepreneur journey. And I've done it so many times now that I think I've become completely unemployable. I don't know that I could actually go to work for somebody else at this
point. No more trading hours. Yeah.
What? Nobody's going to hire me. I'm going to be there for like 4 weeks, and I'm going to be like, you don't know what the F you're doing, man. Come, just sit here. You need to do this and this and this. And like, you're like, out.
What so you did pressure washing, and then like take us through the gauntlet of ideas and businesses. What all businesses did you get yourself into?
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just going to hit on some highlights because my friends actually joke that I should be writing a book, The Many Lives of Roger Sullivan. So
They'll turn that sounds like one that gets turned into a movie. That's a comedy.
It really could be, because I've lived multiple lives through a bunch of different businesses. So we've done everything from power washing and general contracting. I've had an auto detail business. I was a horseshoer and farrier blacksmith for a while.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you ever get just kicked in the face or anything? Any
no, I mean, I got tossed around a little bit, but I never got kicked really hardcore. It was a tough business. I looked at it as like, okay, I could do this, and there's a lot of money to be made, and I can do some marketing and stuff, but the horse community is a very tight-knit community, and if you're not from it, you're not getting into it. So I ended up just with all the neglected and horrible horses, and the ones that nobody else wanted to do, and so it was just like, what am I doing? So then we got into specialty coffee. So I started working. We were from Seattle, so I started working for a buddy of mine that had some local franchises. Learned the business from him, and then we started our own coffee stand. And then after that, we started doing wholesale distributing to coffee stands, so delivering cups and lids and straws and all of that stuff. And that was right before 2007 when the economy crashed. And that
the old make your competitors your customers, though. That's strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great. I mean, we kind of niched down and found a something that worked great. But when the economy crashed in 2007, 2008. Businesses started to look at us as a luxury, even though our profit margins were really low. We were only operating on like a 10 to 15% profit margin. But business owners were going, look, I can't afford to pay you that extra 10%, because they had this mindset of like, if I do it myself, I'm going to save 10% instead of now I don't have the time to put into marketing and everything that I need to grow my business. They kind of got into that, like that scared mentality, and ultimately ended up making us close down that business. So we closed down that business, and then I got a wild hair and joined I went to school for deep sea diving, and so I worked in the Gulf of Mexico being a commercial diver for a while.
Did you like through your life up to that point, did you scuba dive, and like, was it a thing you did, or was it all of a sudden you're just like, I got an idea, I don't see anybody else
there were literally ads on. So I was going through a time where like I didn't have anything. There was nothing going on. The economy was crappy, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I kept hearing these ads on the radio for the Seattle Diving Institute, and so I started doing some research and realized, holy crap, these guys make a lot of money. Like they make a lot of money. So I went, and it's an accredited school. You get like student loans and Pell Grants. So I ended up, going in debt for 25 grand and going to school and getting my license. And then when you get your license, all it is now you've got permission to go down to the Gulf of Mexico and get a minimum wage job. Like you literally, I drove across the country, loaded my stuff in, kissed my wife and my kids goodbye, and I drove to Louisiana, and I was gone for 6 months before I came back for the first time. And I drove down there, and I literally got a job that paid me $7 an hour to work in the yard. Now, when I would go offshore, I would make more money. I would make like 17, but it's 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So, the overtime you're making actually decent money. That's where you start. And then after a period of time, then you start getting into more specialized things, and you're up to where, you're making like $500, $600, $700 a day, and then having a more routine schedule. But yeah, I just heard an ad on the radio, and I'm like, well,
hey,
I'm going to do that.
That's crazy, man. You should write a book.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
What's next?
And then when I was down yeah, when I was down there, that's when I got the idea for the wired waffle, which ended me up on Shark Tank. And so we created this breakfast waffle that we infused with, basically 200 milligrams of caffeine. Like we shoved 2 Red Bulls into a breakfast waffle, and that ended us up on Shark Tank. And then the Shark Tank episode aired, and it's reality TV, so they kind of made us out and edited us so we were kind of the idiots, and so we closed that down, and then we ended up starting a distillery.
We got to talk more about Shark Tank. Who were the 4 people? Who were the 4 sharks?
So I got Lori instead of Barbara. So it was Mark, Kevin, Lori, and Robert.
Okay, like kind of the OGs besides Barbara.
Yeah, and Mark Cuban's awesome. Everybody on that show acts exactly like how they are on the show. Mark Cuban is the guy that you wouldn't be surprised to show up at a friend's barbecue and he'd be in the backyard, man, in the cooler, handing you a Bud Light.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't. How did that interaction go with them? Because you just got to give us some details. This is like a world that the rest of us don't know. How?
Yeah. So it was all super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was all super cool. It was like, so the funny thing is like being backstage, right? So, you see them open the doors and you walk down this hallway and you go to stand on the carpet. Well, what you don't see is like, I literally the doors were like, there was framing and stuff. It was like almost up against a wall at the end of the studio. So I'm literally like climbing over these 2x4s.
Just to get into the hallway.
The door, so when the doors opened up, I could walk out. And so I go down the hallway, and they film me walking down the hallway, and then I get to the carpet, and I just have to stand there, and I'm standing there until I get the all clear from the director to go. So in the meantime, the sharks are there: Mark Cuban, Kevin, Lori, Robert. They're all there, and they're all like, finishing up. It was 7:30 in the morning, so they're like on their phones and stuff like that. And everybody was in a very foul mood. It was bad. Kevin was on 3 phones. Mark's yelling at him, yelling at the directors, like, "Hey, get Kevin off his phones. We need to get this going." Blah 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 blah. And that started off the whole thing. So,
and are you like? It sounds like you guys could all use a little caffeine.
Well, so I go into my pitch and I'm doing this thing, and me being there was like ancillary. Like as soon as they started talking and going back, they started arguing, and like they boiled my segment down to 9 minutes, but I was in there for almost 45 minutes. And most of it was
were you the first
arguing.
Were you like the first?
I was the first person in the morning. And the sharks spent so much time arguing, and there were times that like they would be arguing back and forth for 10 minutes. And then like all of a sudden they'd ask me a question and I'd be like, "Oh, you're talking to me." I thought you guys were still arguing, but the camera was always on me. And so it was catching like my reaction and my facial expressions based on like how they were arguing and stuff. And it's reality TV. It's reality TV. So they'd be like, "Oh, you know what? Let's take that facial reaction and let's like copy and paste it over here. And let's take this answer to this and let's move it to this question." And it was like, my segment was completely and totally like mixed around and edited. So it was crazy, but just watching them argue and stuff. I mean, it was a great experience. It was fun. When I look at it back now, it was a giant distraction in marketing. I mean, I'm all for, equity funding and, angel investors and stuff like that. But my advice to anybody who would be looking to go on Shark Tank is don't do it. Don't do it.
What, who was the biggest piece of shit and who was like the most, like sensible person on there? I kind of feel like I already know the answer, but
Kevin is just exactly who he appears to be. I mean, he did the whole, it took about 30 seconds for him to like call me a cockroach and that I didn't have anything that wasn't proprietary and all of the stuff. And it's like, okay. But it was funny because Mark jumped in to protect me. And he's like, "Kevin, you always say that." It was season 4. He's like, "It's been 4 seasons. You need to come up with a new line. Everything that you want, you just want something handed to you. You don't know what it's like to build a business. You've had everything that you want is you just want the easy deals, this, that, and the other thing." And I remember actually talking to Mark going, "Hey, Mark, I I can handle this, like, and so Kevin and I started going at it, but Mark kept jumping in. So they really butted heads. But like I said, Mark was super genuine, and even he gave me really honest feedback, kind of about, what I was bringing and stuff like that. And he's like, look, he goes, I appreciate you're a hustler. You're a nice guy. He goes, I just don't feel like you brought us the best thing that you could. I think you've got other ideas and you could have bought us a better project. And for that, I'm out, but I respect you. And then
that's kind of cool feedback. That's a nice
vote
of confidence. Kevin does.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy. Kevin strikes me as a dick. Like, I think I'd have a really hard time if he like came at me with some stuff. I would just write him off. Like, he's the person that I just wouldn't want to interact with. I'd be like, yeah, I got nothing to say to you, man.
Well, now he's getting into your world, right? So now he's getting into like, fractional CFO and accounting, CPA, something. I'm seeing a bunch of his stuff in my feed that's like, kind of getting in. I'm like, why are you an expert in this now? Like, didn't you like create kids games or something? Like what?
Yeah.
What is this? Why are you the expert in this? So
how was Robert strikes me as like a reasonable dude in that room. But again, I like have no basis besides what reality TV shows you.
Yeah, he's quiet. We had the challenge of our episodes. So in season 4, we weren't allowed to have any power on the stage. So I couldn't have any electricity, have anything. So I've got a waffle that's supposed to be served out of a toaster, right? And so the producers are like, well, is there a way that you can preheat them and heat them up and maybe keep them warm? And so I'm like, all right, well, we can try. At this point, the producers had made the decision. So the whole process was they fly us to California. We pitch to the producers, right? And if they like our pitch, then they allow us to pitch to the Sharks. And if that pitching goes well, then they may or may not choose to use our segment and put us on the air. So we pitched to the producers and they liked it, but this was the challenge they had. And so they're like, if you can do this, then we're going to get you on the schedule tomorrow. And so what we did was we heated up the waffles in the toaster like we normally did. And then we went to a Home Depot and we bought hand warmers, and we filled like a bread basket and lined it with napkins and stuff and put a bunch of these hand warmers in there in hopes to keep the stuff warm. The problem is our waffle was a natural waffle. It didn't have any preservatives or anything in it. So it was basically, flour, butter, eggs and sugar. Those were our ingredients. And so when you heat something like that up and then let it kind of cool without moisture and stuff like that, it became like a crouton. It became hard and like stale. So in our segment, you'll see Robert take a bite and he looks at the other people and he's like, because we were basically, and we didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't until afterwards, when I was talking to my partner and he's like, okay, walk me through everything that you did. And he's like, all right, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. And he replicated what we did and then tasted it. And he's like, oh my God, you sold them, like, no wonder they didn't, the product looked and tasted and presented horrible. It was stale by the time that they got it, because I had to warm it up, set it all up. And then I went back and behind the curtain and waited for them to open the doors and then walked down and then stood there for 10 minutes while they all got their shit together. And then, now all of a sudden, like, I'm pitching and handing stuff out, and it had been 30 minutes since I tried to warm those things up. Yeah.
That sucks.
What's crazy is I'm on the West Coast and I've got 5 TVs in my house. I've got local people there. I've got 100 people in my house. Everyone's excited about, we're broadcasting, this is going to be our episode. And as I'm setting up, I'm getting my Twitter's blowing up because the East Coast, it's broadcasting like 3 hours ahead of time. And I'm looking at my Twitter and I'm just getting lamb-basted. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like, what happens? And then Central Time Zone, same thing. Like Mountain, same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so by the time that it airs and I'm seeing how they edited it, and I'm like, that's not the way that happened. Like, I'm literally in the cupboard and I'm just like pouring bourbon. I'm like, everybody just get out. I don't want to, like, get out of my house.
so I assume nobody made you an offer, but is it, I have heard that on Shark Tank, if you go on, like, the show takes some equity, or something like that just to get on the show? Is that true, or how does that work to be able to get on?
So it's written in their contract. It's written in their contract that they have the option to do it. What a lot of people don't realize. So one of the best things, Dan, that I've gotten out of that show is I am part of a very, very exclusive Facebook group of about 450 entrepreneurs that have actually stood on the carpet in Shark Tank and actually had their segment broadcast. There are no producers, nobody from ABC. There are no sharks. It is literally the entrepreneurs, not their wives, not their partners. You had to be on the carpet pitching in order to be in this group. And what I've found, and what most people don't realize, is that most of the deals, most of them, like 80% and upwards, that actually get shaken on and we've got a deal, never go through.
Oh, really? I suppose there's so much due diligence that would need to happen and X, Y, and Z.
Yep. So most of them, just don't go through. It's very, very few that do go through, and the ones that do go through, most of them last a certain period of time, and then there's always an exit plan. Like it's going to get sold, or they have an exit plan to get the shark out of it. A lot of them get sold, like Poppy Water or Boppy Water.
Oh yeah.
Poppy Water. Yeah. So they were on Shark Tank, and literally Kevin just yelled at these people, like, you called them the cockroaches and did the whole thing. Damon Johns told him no. Mark Cuban told him no. Like, you guys, like, we're out. You've got nothing special about what you're doing. And there was a guest shark on there. It was an Indian guy. I can't remember his name, but he's like, I think that you've got something here. I want to do a deal with you. And he offered them what they were asking, but he wanted, more of a percentage, and they took the deal and ended up selling the company for like $1.9 billion or something.
Yeah. That stuff took off.
Yeah. So the sharks aren't always sharky. Sometimes they mess up.
So I want to hit on something that I did on my last show. I don't know, when Jai edits our episodes, I don't know what order he puts these in. So whoever listens to this, if you catch it on the podcast, you may have heard this on the last episode. But I just got back from the Philippines, as you know. And when I was speaking to our team over there, and I was there with Unique Genius. So like their whole team of strategic partners. I had to make the point to them, because that culture is very good at following directions, but they're gun shy about like standing up, speaking out. They're very reserved. And as I was like talking to them, and at first I was coaching financial analysis and teaching just the group of bookkeepers and CPAs and finance people, like, here's how we coach business owners. And then I had to stop myself and be like, just so you guys know, none of us know what we're doing. We don't know. There's no right answer. And we're just making all this up, right? And that's not good or bad. We just we're dumb enough to do it, right? Like, not everybody is stupid enough to take the risks that we take. And you have to know that when you're talking to your business owner, they might seem bold, brave, arrogant, confident. They have no idea what they're doing. None of us do. I don't, right? Is this a good idea for me to be here right now? I flew across the world to see you guys. My wife approved it, so here I am, right? My one investor approved it, so I came. But like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Angela spent, I don't know, $100,000. It had to be close to $100,000 to put this event on. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. That sounds like a hell of a lot of money to me. Would I have done that? I don't know. But like, none of us know what we're doing. We're just trying to do what we think is best. And I think it's funny because like you idolize some people or think they're like these big bad investors, right? Like they must know all the answers. They don't know what they're doing either. They just got lucky a few times, right? Like, and then they have enough money to do it over and over again. And it's like legalized gambling in a way. You just got to get right enough times about enough things. And if you have the guts to do it, usually you'll succeed, because most people don't have the guts to do it. So you get more of the opportunity. But it is fun.
We're all playing the same game. It's just some people have a bigger bank than others, right? They've got more money to be able to like make bigger mistakes. But even somebody with a little bit of money, somebody who's just starting out, 20 years old, starting out with a pressure washing company, spending $475 a month on a Yellow Pages ad, like, is that a gamble that's going to pay off?
Yeah, you just don't know. But it tends to be whoever has the most guts is the one that ultimately succeeds. Not at first, a lot of times, but if you look at what happens during a recession, a lot of people get scared and go out of business, which like we're in a bit of one right now in the home service industry. I'm hearing a lot about it from my clients. The people that really succeed are the ones buying everybody else up and figuring it out. Right? And they just have the guts to double down when everybody else is really scared. They're like, nope, I'm convicted and I'm dumb enough to do it. Like, here we go. And my wife said,
what's the worst that's going to happen?
That's always the question we ask ourselves. What's the worst that could happen? I could go back and trade some hours for dollars if I had to, but I'm going to go do this instead. Let's go. We're doing it.
Exactly.
So what happened with your caffeinated waffle? Did you give up on it?
So we were starting to get some traction, and we were starting to do, like, we were actually in negotiation with Pilot Truck Stops and with 7-Eleven. But when that episode aired, that all went away. Like, literally phone calls and 7-Eleven called us. Pilot sent us an email the next morning, like the very next morning. Like, nope, don't want anything to do with it. So it was. We're like, okay, so that happened.
That was a killer.
Yeah. So we're done. And I had spent a bunch of time. So because I was working in the Gulf of Mexico, and they called me to come back. They called me like, hey, we need you to come offshore. And I'm like, so I've got this thing, like, I'm going to be on Shark Tank, and they're calling me to go to California. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, all right, fine. Yeah, we get it. Like, to go do your thing. So I I basically quit my job to go, like, do this whole thing with Shark Tank, and then, like, nothing worked out. And now I'm like, I can't exactly call him back. Like, so what am I going to do? So I went back to, like, all right, here we go. Like, going back to trading hours for dollars. And I got a job for driving a laundry truck for a uniform company before we started our moonshine company, which,
what's that?
The last existing bottles of our apple pie moonshine company right here. It's like a relic.
What? Why? Why? How'd you get? I just, like, you're blowing my mind right now. I didn't know you, like, we had talked a little bit about the Shark Tank thing before, but how the heck did you get into moonshining?
So my wife and I used to make apple pie moonshine. Everyone's probably had it before, right? Somebody makes it out of Everclear and apple juice and all this stuff. And we used to make it every year in the winter, and we would actually make bottles of it, and we would give it away as, like, Christmas gifts. And people got used to getting our apple pie moonshine. Well, you remember in 2012 or so, the Discovery Channel came out with, like, that Moonshiners show.
Moonshiners, yeah.
Yeah.
And who's the country artist that sings about apple pie moonshine? There's a country song about apple pie moonshine.
Oh yeah. So so they came out with this Moonshiners program. It got super popular, and then there was companies like Old Smoky and White Lightning.
They got, like, cherry. I've seen the moonshine with the cherries in it. I'm all about
that. Yeah. So they and they put it in a mason jar, and they marketed it. And I think one of the NASCAR guys, Jeff Gordon, I think, was a part of one of the investing in one of those. But anyway, so I'm in a liquor store one day, and I see this mason jar, and it's this apple pie moonshine. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, this is great. I can buy it now. I don't have to make it. So I ended up picking up a jar, and I took it home, and I was super excited, and I cracked open the thing, and I took a sip, and I literally spit it out. It was
garbage.
It was garbage town. It was like ethanol. It was definitely like moonshine. And apple pie. Apple pie is one of those things that you drink and you don't realize how strong it is because it tastes so good. And then next thing you know, you're in the back of a cop car with no pants, and you're like, "What happened?" Right?
Yeah.
Because
it's apple pie, man.
So I'm like, babe, taste this. It's garbage. And she drinks it, and she's like, this is horrible. And I'm like, people are drinking this, like they're like making tons of money doing this. And my wife did the one thing that she knows now better than to do. And she's like, well, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, let me show you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's start a moonshine company. And so Washington State had literally just that year opened up the alcohol system. So it was closed. It was a closed system. There were no distilleries. There were only beer breweries. The state controlled all the liquor stores, and they voted to open all that up. And so it became deprivatized, or it became privatized, right? Or, like public, whatever. And so all these distilleries started popping up. And so I started calling distilleries because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I learned something with waffles is instead of making waffles in my garage, I needed to find somebody else that had the capability of doing it. So I learned something. So I'm going to go like, well, I'm not going to start a distillery. That's going to cost me $500,000. I'm just going to call distilleries and find out who wants to make this for me.
He's got some capacity.
Well, that didn't really go over really well because it was brand new in the state. And so I called, I think there were 16 distilleries at the time, and I called every single one of them, and I got yelled at. I got hung up on. One guy called me back to yell at me more. That I had no business in the
Kevin
industry.
O'Leary? Was it Kevin O'Leary?
But the last guy that I called, he's like, yeah, I'll take a meeting. You want to come over to Wenatchee? It's like a 2.5 hour drive. You want to come over and show me what you got going on? I'd love to do it. So I got super excited. So I made a batch of it. I had a bottle that I stripped the label off of, and I printed up a label, kind of mocked up what my marketing and what everything that I wanted to be. And I put like bottled by, and I put his logo down on the bottom of it, and it looked pretty sweet. I was pretty proud of it. And we went over and met him, and we went down into the basement of his distillery. He was operating out of an old fruit processing plant. And so we went downstairs where his still and everything was. And he's like, so what do you got? And I'm like, okay. So I start giving him my pitch, and I start going into this whole salesman thing. And my wife kind of just like, shut up. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Here, just taste it. So I hand him the bottle, and he looks at it, and he sees his logo on it, and he looks at his wife, and he goes, oh, I guess we're in the apple pie business. And I'm like, oh shit, I've offended this guy. Like, oh crap. So I grab the bottle and I open it, and he goes over and grabs like 4 mismatched little glasses that he's got down there. He's wiping them out, like almost like, I'm like, oh, great, here we go. So I pour 4 glasses, one for each of us, him and his wife and my wife and I. And his wife looks at me and goes, I don't want you to be offended, but I just want you to know that I don't really like alcohol. And I'm like, your husband owns a distillery. And she's like, I know, but I just don't really like it. So I don't want you to judge if it's good or not based on my reaction. So I'm like, okay. So we cheers, and we're all taking a sip, and I'm watching, right? So I'm kind of, doing the side eye. And they both take a sip, and then he kind of is holding back, and he's like takes a sip, and he's kind of, doing one of these and looking at it and doing the whole thing. And his wife is looking at him, and she had taken a sip, and she takes another sip and is looking at him, and then she finishes her shot. Like, this woman doesn't like alcohol, and she finishes her shot. And then he's kind of doing his thing, and she looks at him and goes, if you're not going to finish that, I will. And he gave her a look like, woman, you just like, stop. I'm trying to like, not give away the farm here, because this is really good. And so it comes down to it, and he's like, hey, this is really good. What do you want to do? And I'm like, look, I'm just looking to partner with somebody. I've got the recipe. I've got the marketing ideas. I want to run everything. I just need somebody to manufacture it, and I will help you figure out how to get it from a 5-gallon batch into a 500-gallon batch. And I'll pay for all the development and everything like that. And if you run it through your distillery, we can just split this 50-50. And he's like, done. We shook hands. And 6 weeks later, we had our very first batch, and we took it to a tasting show, and we were the hit of the show. We made 25 cases our first batch, and we sold out of those 25 cases that very first night. Ended up entering into a spirits competition in San Francisco. It was the same year that Crown Royal came out with their Crown Royal Apple. And we actually tied Crown Royal Apple for a bronze medal at the tasting event in San Francisco. So it's kind of one of my really cool claim to fame, like I'm super proud of. But,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So It was great, and then so we ran with it and manufactured it for a while. The distilled industry is very difficult, and very difficult industry. If you don't have money for marketing and spiffs, your product just gets buried in the books.
Yeah,
And
so much.
yeah, it was just like, I mean, unless you're, a celebrity that's backing your own tequila and you've got the money to be able to pour into marketing, even if you've got a great product, it just gets lost on the shelf and no one's going to know about it. So
That was
we
what
ended
you
up,
should take to Shark Tank. You went back to Shark
right?
Tank. I got
Yeah,
something now,
exactly.
and this ain't gonna go stale because you guys suck at having a toaster on your set.
Right. And let's get drunk at 7:30 in the morning, because why not?
But Kevin's not invited. Kevin doesn't get to come.
Right. Yeah. So it was good. We had so we ended up selling that off back to the distillery. And that was one of the things that actually helped us become debt free and paid off the rest of our debt, that allowed us to go and start traveling the world.
Oh, heck yeah. So it was a success. It was a catalyst. It was a success.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even after we were traveling, there were some royalties and stuff that came in. They contacted us. We had been out for like a year, and they're like, "Hey, we've got a couple $1,000s here that we owe you. That like we need to know where to send it." It's like, I'll just wire that to my bank, baby.
Yeah, I can help with that. So
Yeah.
did you say that was the last bottle? Are they done making it, or what's
Yeah.
the?
Yeah. It's totally done. Actually, this bottle we actually found in my in-laws' closet. One of the last times we were in Washington, and they don't drink, and so because
find.
we sold everything and we didn't have anything, so we stole it and took it and brought it home, because it's one of our piece of our history.
Speaking of alcohol, this is how desperate I am right now, Roger.
Is that a White Claw going in?
I'm drinking a damn White Claw. What I had in here earlier was some tequila, some frozen strawberries, and then like a LaCroix bubbly water thing, like kind of with some lime juice. So it's like a margarita with just bubbly water to give it to stay hydrated. But I'm down to 0 beers, and my mother-in-law had brought these over when I was gone in the Philippines, like when they're hanging out in the pool. It's the only thing I can find.
I'm gonna have to send you like an emergency like break glass in case of like empty refrigerator.
I do have whiskey down there, but I don't have the like I'm up. I'd have to text my wife and be like, "Hey, can you pour me a glass of whiskey?" So which has happened on the show. I'm not ruling it out. I got a mini fridge. This is the best, quite possibly the best Christmas gift I ever got. My wife bought me a mini fridge.
Oh, look at that!
Right
that's
here.
That's like a desk fridge. That goes like right on the corner of your desk.
It's perfect. It can fit like 6-8 beers in it. It's perfect.
That's pretty epic. Yeah.
And it, like I
unplugged off like USB. No, it's enough USB or what?
No, it's got a little AC. Oh, it can do AC or DC power. It's very versatile.
You can run it in your car.
Very versatile. That sounds dangerous for a guy from Wisconsin. I got like a little power cord back here, so I just keep the power cord, and it's never plugged in except for on usually Wednesday nights. Tonight's a Tuesday night, I've been told. But so I like when I'm podcasting, I'll bring a couple beers up and slam them in there, and then I'm just good to go. Except for tonight,
good to go.
I brought a White Claw up instead because hold on, we have a special guest visitor, Crosdog. Crosby's got to come and say hi. Hi, dude.
What's up, Crosby?
Are you going to bed?
Hey.
Bedtime? Is your your bear is making an appearance? Did you ever pick a name for that bear? Do you see your bear? It is Barry. The bear's name is Barry. I don't know if it's spelled B. It could be Barry Sanders, like Barry Barry, or it could just be Barry, like Beary, right?
Berry.
Look at that. But the Bears made a guest appearance on the podcast.
The Bears in. I think this is the first time the Bears made it. Are you just like looking at the video of yourself? You're gonna make a funny face? Daddy.
Right, come on, bud.
Okay, bud. Oh, you can boot me? Or are you just gonna swipe my face? What am I, an iPhone? Okay. Hey, since you're here, you want to go get me a little glass of whiskey?
No, I didn't 3 kids.
She said no. She doesn't want you
So-
because she's putting
So I
3
don't have
kids.
to text you. So I don't have to text you.
I'll,
Could I just?
I'll text you later. I got shut down. I got shut down on that one. She vetoed that. It's worth a shot.
It's like, no.
It's worth a shot.
I'm not going downstairs and coming back up. Like that's not
It's a
going to
negative.
happen.
Yeah, that's a negative. Oh well. Well, figured she was here already.
It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
So you did the apple pie moonshine. Then what? Then what we got next? We're carrying this thing all the way out as long as you got.
So
we'll catch up.
That was right before we started traveling, and we had been looking for. I needed to find something to do that I could do with an internet connection. So we had calculated. So we had made this decision, like we're going to sell everything and leave.
So when you decided to start traveling, you were like, we need a business where we can be around the world. Like the traveling was like, hey, we got to get out of here. We're going to go explore. We're empty nesting.
Yeah. So it was all kind of, the catalyst was my mom. So my mom had been diagnosed with breast cancer and lost her battle pretty quickly. And she was 63 when she died. And it was really sobering because here I am, like I've got this entrepreneurial thing. I'm trying to start businesses and I'm doing this and I'm falling back to like, all right, well, I got to get a job and I'm trading hours for dollars because that didn't work while I think about the next best thing, right? And I would, maybe I'm at a job for a year or two and I get a little bit of a 401k and then I get an idea and it's like, okay, oh well, hey, we got some money here. There's our startup fund. So let's just cash out the 401k and like that gives us our startup fund. But I started realizing like, if I don't figure this out and do a business that's like, I mean, am I just going to keep doing this until I'm like 65 and start collecting Social Security and hope that I'm healthy enough to do what we want to do? We had this conversation earlier about like, do you regret having kids so early because you couldn't do the things you wanted to do in your 20s? And a lot of people in their 20s, maybe they do some traveling or they do some stuff. And that was something that Amy and I always wanted to do. Travel has always been something we've been super passionate about and wanted to do. But it looked like that was going to be something that was going to be reserved for the end of our life. And when my mom died, it really made it click home. Like
you don't know when that's happening, so why wait?
Right. I don't know when it's going to happen. And even if it does happen and I'm 65, am I going to be healthy enough to actually be able to do it? And so now I'm like, so what am I supposed to give away the most productive years of my life in hopes that I'm going to do this? And so we came up with a plan. We started drastically what can we do? And we read 2 books that made a huge difference in our life. Number 1, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, game changer, really made us think about how we can hack our lives. And one of the things that he talked about was hacking your finances. If you can earn American dollars and you can be in the Philippines, for instance, your dollar is going way farther. And then the second book that we read was Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. And this book really kind of broke our brain because everybody thinks that traveling the world is so expensive. Like people ask us all the time, do you have a trust fund or how are you affording this? And the reality is that traveling the world is really inexpensive. It's more expensive to maintain your home in the United States. If you looked at your budget, even in Minnesota, of what it takes to run your house, your insurance, your cars, your food, your power bill, your internet, your daycare, all of this stuff, it costs more than if you had nothing and started traveling the world full time. And when we figured that out,
I would have never believed that until I was down in the Philippines.
Yeah. So we actually came up with a budget. We came up with a budget and we figured out that it was going to cost us about an average of $2,000 a month to travel indefinitely. Now, some countries we'd go to would be more expensive, but some countries would be a lot less. So we were in Vietnam for 3 months, for instance. And it was, like I said, our son came with us for the first year that we were there, that we were traveling. The 3 months that we were in Vietnam, there were 3 of us. And we did all the things. We did the ATVs up in the mountains and the beach excursions and everything like that. But in 3 months, we spent less than $5,000. So
that's crazy.
It was very inexpensive. So we figured if we could come up with $2,000 a month that was going to be enough for us to sustain. So my wife got certified to teach English as a second language. So she was teaching English online to Chinese kids. And then I went to work in marketing. So 2018 is when we got started. That was when ClickFunnels really got started. And I was part of like their very first One Funnel Away challenge, really kind of dove into that. And one of the first, people that really got into that. So I was doing marketing and building funnels and landing pages and stuff for people while we were out traveling. So that was kind of what I had gotten into afterwards, after we sold all that and decided like, all right, we're going to start traveling. And so I started putting a bunch of time into an investment into learning how to do all that. So when we left in March of 2018, we were just, full-time online. So anywhere that we had an internet connection, we were able to plug in and work for a couple hours a day. And then unlike most people in the US, when they come home and they plop, they make food and like sit down and watch Netflix, we're in another country. Like, what do you want to do? Let's just go, Yeah.
We can do whatever the heck we want. I didn't realize how inexpensive whenever I've traveled internationally, it's always been to like Europe or China, but I was in Shanghai or like a bigger city. When we were in the Philippines, I was talking to Angela and JC about next year's Unique Genius Summit, and they were debating where to do it in the Philippines. And then somebody had thrown out the idea of going to Bali. And I was like, well, that sounds expensive. And then somebody was like, no, it's way cheaper in the Philippines. Like it costs nothing to be at Bali. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I hear Bali and I'm thinking this like tropical paradise, which I think it is. But it like, just like you had said about Vietnam, it's like you can go there for next to nothing. And I forget who it was, but somebody had said like, oh yeah, my parents were there for 3 months. And it was cheaper for them. I think it was Angela's parents, or maybe it was just a month or two, but it was cheaper for them to be there than to be at home. I was just like, what? Like, that's wild. That's crazy. But, and like I said, I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it. But I could get a beer for like 50 cents in the Philippines. It was crazy.
Yeah. We were in Bali and we were renting one of those really cool villas that you see like the influencers are in, that like the living room doesn't have the third wall, it opens up to your pool in your courtyard that's all walled, and you get your kitchen, and the only 2 rooms are air conditioned are your bedrooms. And it was like 3 stories. The top story had a jacuzzi hot tub on the top of it that overlooked the rice terraces and everything like that. We paid $28 a night for that place, and it came with 2 motorcycles. It was like, are you serious? I'm in paradise. It's $28 a night. This is crazy. I hop on a motorcycle and I, drive down the street, and I'm coming back with like a case of like, oh gosh, what was it bin beers? It was a Philippine, like it was the one of the Filipino beers, came in like a 32 ounce, like a, like a 40, it was like, I just go get a 6-pack of those, put it on the motorcycle and come back to the apartment.
It's a big old glass bottle at the top.
Yeah.
So you did the traveling. When you guys were over there, is that when you got into the processing stuff, or was what businesses were you working on while you were doing the world traveling?
Yeah, no. So we were when we were traveling, Amy was teaching English and I was doing marketing. I actually had a lady in Jacksonville, Florida that had hired me and flew me over here for a week to help her do some storyboarding. And I actually built a broadcast studio for her. So got a green screen installed for her, help her get like cameras and mics and everything set up. And then I helped her storyboard her story that she was trying to get out to help her brand. And so I did that. I was here with her for a week. And then as I was leaving, she's like, hey, what would it take for you and your wife to come back and kind of incubate my business? She had a social media marketing company and had like this system of doing things that she really wanted to like explode. And so she's like, I'll pay for everything. You can live in my house. It'll be like a Facebook kind of startup thing. And, we'll have people coming and going, and we'll just work out of the house, and I'll pay for everything. And so I went back we were actually in Cornwall, England at the time. I went back and because I had come over by myself. My wife couldn't leave because we were house sitting and babysitting a dog at the time. So we couldn't both leave. So I'm like, babe, if she's paying me to go, she's going to pay me like a couple $1,000s to come over for a week. are you okay staying here by yourself? She's like, yeah, absolutely, go. So I left. I came back, and then I'm like, hey, so she wants us to come over for 6 weeks. We'd have to put a pin in our traveling, but we could, we were planning on going to Ireland. We could leave, and then we were going to come back and do Portugal and do a bunch of stuff. So she's like, yeah, sure, let's go.
Yeah.
So we flew to Jacksonville, got everything set up, and that whole thing lasted about 19 days, and realized that the lady that we were working for had completely misrepresented who she was. She didn't have the money she said she had. She was a horrible narcissist, one of the worst I've ever met in my life. And her business wasn't at the level that she said it was. And where she wanted to go, we couldn't get her there. She needed to do a couple things first. And she started blaming us for not being able to produce. And we're like, we're out. Yeah. But by the time that we were looking to go back, we were starting to hear things about this virus and this thing that was going on all over the world, and countries were starting to get closed down and shut down. And so I'm like, well, I guess we're here. We're going to be
we're back
in Florida for a while. So we really fell in love with Northeast Florida. St. Augustine is super, super beautiful. It's got a lot of the things that were part of some of our favorite places, the traveling, the beaches and the sand and the climate. So we ended up staying here, and Amy's dad, who's been in real estate and has bought and sold and flipped and bird properties before anybody knew what that was, back in 1969, had a bunch of properties in Washington that he's like, hey, I got no depreciation left on these. What's the real estate market look like down there? And at the time, it was really good. It was really inexpensive. Nobody had really, it was pre-COVID, so nobody was coming here buying up a bunch of stuff. So we could sell a house in Washington and buy 2 down here. And we started turning them into short-term rentals, and we got started in the Airbnb business. And that was kind of what got us going back in business, and what got our feet underneath us here in Florida as we started to transition from, marketing and teaching English to all right, we're settling back in the United States. So we need all the stuff, we need to get a house and, a car. And now we've got business and Airbnbs, and now we got to create the system and stuff like that. And during that time, I had a friend from Washington State that was looking at either moving to Florida or Texas, and had come down, and he was in Florida, and he invited me to this mastermind. And he's a cool dude. I really like him a lot, and he's got some really great fruit in his life, and I respect him. And he's like, hey, we're going to this mastermind. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever you say. So I went with him to this mastermind, and I had no idea what I was walking into, but ended up getting around a group of guys that really, this is kind of the guys that were running around and hanging out with Latimer. So I know that Josh, and so these were guys that were kind of in his circle that were running in that group, and they were doing some really cool things. And it was the first time in my life where I've always known that I've kind of needed or wanted some coaching, but I'd never had the additional funds or the opportunity to be able to take advantage of it. And this was a time that I did. And so I got involved with these guys. It was called the King's Council, Riley Meeks, Scott Thomas, and really started to really build relationships with them. And they're the ones that actually got involved in merchant services. So about 2 years ago, they were approached, and they've been approached several times. These guys run multiple 7 and 8 figure businesses, and they've been approached about merchant services. And the way that these guys were doing business was a little bit different, meaning that they gave away a big portion of their profits, and they kind of like that business model. And so they went and decided to go into business with these guys and put the opportunity out to people in the mastermind of like, hey, would you like to get involved in this as agents? And it was really attractive to me because it was talking about residuals. And like I said, we're entrepreneurs, and I've had jobs, and I've had 401ks, and I've used those to start businesses. So literally I'm in my 50s, and I've got zero retirement. Right. So the fact that there's residual income that could be created was very interesting. And so we got involved then. We got involved in April of last year just as agents, and then through a couple other things that had happened with the owners, Riley and Scott, just getting too busy with their other businesses, actually offered Amy and I to take over the business completely and actually acquire it. So in December of this last year, we became the owners in total of provision processing.
Awesome. Do you, and you're still doing the Airbnb stuff too? That's still.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's on autopilot, really. I mean, the systems we've got in place, we've got automation and stuff. So, I mean, we've got housekeepers that show up to our house and pick up laundry. We got people that come in and do the laundry and put it on the shelf, and it's just kind of doing its own thing. But we don't. So the family owns those. We simply make money from managing those properties. So it's one income stream that we have.
Yeah, awesome. On the merchant processing side of things, there's two pieces of this that I want to explore, and there's probably 7 more you can teach me about. But it seems to me like rates have consistently gone up, but they go up with every credit card marketing like 1% cash back, 1.5%, but 2% if you're buying gas. And it's like they keep trying to offer bigger benefits, and the vendor ultimately pays for it, right? It's just this doom loop of like, oh, I'm going to use my credit card so I can get some points, right?
Yeah.
But all that means is that somebody's paying for it. Has the processor like margined up over time? Have they like increased their spread on that? Or is it just like, well, it used to be 0% points and they charged 2%, and then it was 0.5% points and they charged 2.5, and then it went to 1% cash back, and now they charge, like, it seems like that spread is just going to stay even, right? Like they've got to make their money in between to do the transaction. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on track there. So, issuing banks are trying to get people to use their credit cards because they want them to go into debt with them, because that's how they're going to make all their money. So they offer the rewards, right? So you're going to get miles, you're going to get cash back, you're going to get points that you can use for whatever. But they're not paying for that out of the trillions of dollars in debt that they're, servicing, right? You're right. They put it back on the merchant. So every credit card has an interchange rate, and that interchange rate is specific for the credit card. So your Wells Fargo business banking, plain vanilla credit card might be a 1.8% interchange. Like that's what it costs to move money from the acquiring bank to the merchant's bank, right? And then the processor is the one that makes all that happen, and they get paid for making it happen. But the cost of doing it is what's called the interchange rate, and that may be like 1.8% on something super simple. But now you throw out an Amex Black card that's got giant rewards and stuff. The interchange rate, what it costs to actually process that, might be 3.75%. So this is where you get into pricing models of merchants where they're like, do I have a flat rate? Do I have interchange plus? Do I have, a tiered pricing level? So there's different ways that they can attack it that assign risk to either the merchant. And by risk, I'm meaning, what card are you going to use? I'm taking on the risk of somebody, like I'm hoping that they're going to use their debit card, but if they pull out an Amex Black card, I'm screwed because I'm doing interchange plus. Or if you're doing like a flat rate pricing, you're with a processor that's saying, hey, we're just going to charge you 2.9% flat rate. Here you go. No matter what card they use, you're just going to pay 2.9%. And the merchant feels safe in that, because it's like, well, if they do pull out an American Express Black card, I'm not losing out. I'm only paying 2.9%. But the fact is the average is that it's either a little bit lower than that, or there's a lot of hidden fees that most merchants aren't seeing that happen. They just believe, oh, I'm paying 2.9%, but they don't understand what their actual effective rate is, because there are all of these hidden charges and things that come in that you don't see unless you actually look at a statement. You can read a statement, or you get somebody like me that can help you read a statement and realize, like, yeah, you're paying 2.9%, but your effective rate's like 5.4%, because of the way that you're taking payments and what you're doing is not compliant with your original agreement.
And we had one of those. We had been using the guy that I thought was taking good care of us. We had a bunch of different businesses with him and transactions with him back when we had our window cleaning and maid service stuff. And this is hilarious for a finance guy, but like I never actually calculated the rate. Like I just went by what he told me. And I was like, oh, it's a good rate. It's better than what we had with Stripe. So let's do it. And then at one point we went and calculated it, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like, we're like 4.5%. We're not at 2 point whatever. Like, there's a lot of things that has not been disclosed here, and I was just too naive to like. I took his word for it. I thought this is what it was.
And most businesses they don't realize, they think, oh, I'm 2.9%, and then their card reader goes down, or they start it gets normal practice for them to take a credit card over the phone. Now that all of a sudden becomes a card not present transaction. It's a non-compliant transaction. You get an added fee of anywhere from 0.5% to a full percentage point on. Do you know Tim Bloom?
Yeah,
He's a window washer guy in California, and he sent me his statements, and I looked, and he was like paying almost a 6% effective rate, because the majority of his business was non-compliant transactions where he was taking payments over the phone, or they were manually putting in credit cards, and then he was also getting hit for like non-compliance fees and network fees and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these junk fees that you're paying. He's like, no, I've got a good rate. I'm like, yeah, your rate's good, but all these other things. And unless you're looking at your statement, or you have somebody like you, a bookkeeper, that's analyzing the data and looking at it at the end of the year or the end of the month and going, okay, so this is what we paid in credit card processing, and this is what you made. You're supposed to be paying a 2.9%, but your effective rate's like 5.4. So we need to take a look at what's happening and change like what you're doing, because this is a big leak in your bucket.
What is the difference between, like, obviously Amex is a higher rate, and different banks and different cards seem to have different rates. What are you really paying for? Like, what's the activity that costs that person money that they're like recouping the cost? Like, if you're the processor, let's say, what's your cost of service? Like, what's driving their cost up? Is it mainframes and software cost to execute the transaction and move the money around? Is it the banks charging the processor? I don't even know if I'm using these words right, because I know there's a bunch of players in it, but what's driving that processing cost? Like, what's behind it that makes it that expensive to transact and move money?
Yeah. So the biggest expense is the interchange rate, right? And this is what it costs to actually pay for them to process that card based on the rewards and the things that are attached to that card.
When you say interchange rate, that's like the amount of money it takes from one bank to send another bank money.
That's what it costs for the banks. That's the hard cost of what it costs the banks to actually transfer the money. So there's that cost. So the hard cost of like transferring the money and making sure that the acquiring bank is getting their money, because the acquiring bank is the issuing bank is the one that's actually, they're the ones that are offering the rewards. They're saying, hey, here, Dan, take this card because I'm going to give you 2.5% cash back. So they've got a cost for that they're going to charge the inter rate for them to just do business. And that's going to be based on the rewards and stuff that they're offering to you. Somebody's got to pay that. And so that interchange rate is the cost of actually managing that card and its rewards. So there's that cost. And then the acquiring bank, the bank that is the merchant that's like receiving the money, they've got a cost of actually doing the processing of like how they have to, their hardware, their mainframes of actually processing the data, which is less. The issuing bank is the one that makes the most money, and then it's the acquiring bank, and then the processor, who's basically the train conductor that's organizing and making sure, like, all right, so the processor, we've got a terminal, we've got a point of sale system, we've got a gateway. We're putting all these things together so that this bank can talk to this bank, and the processor gets paid for making that happen, for actually providing the communication for the two banks. So there's basically three big pieces of what a merchant's paying for.
Interesting. What ACH, like, it seems credit card processing seems to keep getting more expensive. And obviously there's a cost to move money, but then all these cash apps come along, right? Venmo, just different ways to move money that don't seem to have much of a cost. And then there's ACH that has a lower cost, but it seems to be creeping up. what are the alternatives to credit card processing, and get out your magic 8 ball. Where do you see it going? Is because credit card processing feels like it's been around for a while and it keeps getting more expensive and more expensive. And I'm probably front running some stuff you want to talk about here, but how is the game changing, right? Like industries like that tend to get ripe, and then somebody comes on and just like totally changes the game and innovates. And I don't know if it's a Venmo, PayPal type of thing, or if it's an ACH type of thing, or if it's something altogether different. But what alternatives do you see out there that are like good alternatives? And how do you see the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great segue. So we're in the middle of a shift right now. So the biggest shift that we're seeing right now is in what we call dual pricing or cash discounting. So the biggest example, so dual pricing has been around for decades. If you've ever gone to a gas station and you've seen them flash the difference between a cash price and a credit price. So that was a loophole that was in agreements and regulations for gas stations to do decades ago. I remember that's been around since like the 90s up in Washington State. There's a chain up there that's always done that. Well, the Dodd-Frank Act actually allowed for an expansion of that for other businesses to be able to do that. So there is a way now for businesses to legally and compliantly offer that same thing, offer a cash price and a credit price. Now there are regulations and there are a lot of things involved in doing that to make sure that businesses do it compliantly. There are a lot of businesses right now, a lot of them, and many of them are probably your listeners because they're in the home services business, and I talk to them every single day, and they're like, "Oh, I just pass it on to my customers. I just pass that fee on to my customers." And 80% of them that I talk to are doing it wrong. They're doing it out of compliance, either illegally, completely, or just out of compliance. And that can come with hefty fines. Fines can range anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 up to $10,000 per incident. We did an audit on an HVAC guy who was surcharging. So he was just adding on 3.5%. And he wasn't disclosing it. He was just adding it on and doing it. And his violation would have been $10,000 per incident. And when we did an audit, he had done 77 transactions in a month. And we're like, "Look, could you afford $770,000?" He's like, "Well, that's a stupid question." I'm like, "Well, that's the reality of what you're doing. Like, would you like to help us? Would you like us to help you fix that?" So there are a lot of businesses that are doing it, but they're just doing it. And Visa's the one that's really hammering down on it. Visa, not MasterCard or Amex, but Visa's the one that is really, really hammering down on surcharging. They're doing audits, they're sending people out, and they're the ones that are really, really cracking down on it. So you have to be careful. Like, number one, if you are going to surcharge, you can't do more than 3%. You can't do it on debit cards. You just can't, like, every card that you run, you can't do that. You got to have proper signage and all this stuff. And what we do is we come in and we help a business do things compliantly and legally and in a way that's not going to piss off their customers. Because I'm sure you've been to a restaurant recently, and this is something that we see all the time. We'll go to a restaurant, you order a nice steak and you're out, and then you get the bill, and of course, you got your tip and everything, and then on the bill you're seeing like, what's this service charge or a credit card service fee or something like that. You've seen that? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh
yeah. So it's like,
they'll call it all sorts of things.
Yeah, and you're like, well, what is this? Like, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? Like, if you would have just added $3 to my steak, I wouldn't have given a shit, right? Like, it's fine. Just add it into the price. But now you're coming at me with this other thing, and now I'm kind of ticked off, and I've got a bad taste in my mouth. And it's like, next time I want to go to that restaurant and be like, "Oh, they charge that fee. I'm paying their credit card fees. They're supposed to pay those, Yeah. And that's what most businesses are at. They're like, "Well, I'm supposed to pay the credit card fees," and people believe they're supposed to pay them as well. But we teach people to make sure that your pricing includes all of your expenses, right? So you're not going to put out a hamburger without putting in the cost of the lettuce, the tomato, the bun, the employee, the insurance, your rent, your light bill, all of that stuff. Why are you holding credit card processing out like this is some golden goose that you're
you wanted ketchup? You wanted ketchup? Sorry, the ketchup's extra.
Yeah, just build it into your costs. And so we help people build it into their costs. And then but the biggest thing with dual pricing is that when the bill shows up, whether it's in a restaurant or it's online and you're sending out a payment invoice, you're a landscaper that's sending out a payment invoice, that customer gets an invoice and they're faced with two choices. They get to pay the service rate that they agreed on, which is got the credit card price built into it, or if they want to pay with ACH and draw it straight out of their bank, they can get a discount and they can pay it right there. So the client gets to do the mental math. They get to decide, hey, do I want the cash back and the points and the rewards, or do I want to take a cash discount and just pay it right out of my bank?
Yeah, or I can take this cash back. I think that's brilliant the way you spin it, because I see the opposite happen so often where people are like, here's your price. Oh, you want to pay with a credit card? Here's your price. And it's like, well, why didn't you just assume that they were going to want to pay with a credit card? Because we all do. Because unless you're 80-year-old, more like an 85-year-old lady, you're probably not writing checks anymore. Right. If you do, you write it. I wrote one today, so this is weird for me to say, but I had a contractor that did some stuff, and I wanted to save him the merchant fees. It's like, I'm trying to be a kind customer, so I wrote him a check, but I just go online, right? And you just send it out of your bank account. I don't know if I would know how to fill a check anymore. But I like the way you spin it around, in that it's like you start at, here's what I quoted you, but hey, if you want to save a few bucks and not get the points, like, you can do the math and do the trade-off, and I'm fine either way.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me, Dan, how many people, especially in the trades, that are like, "Oh, I don't want to do that to my customers. I'm not gonna do that to my customers." It's like, what do you? You're not going to lose a window washing job over 3.5%. Just charge them. Just charge them $118 instead of $115. Like, nobody's going to care, especially if you send them the invoice and they're like, wait, if I give you ACH or a check, you're going to give me a discount? Like, yeah, like it's a total different mind shift, but merchants have it in their heads that they have, that's a cross that they have to bear, and they're the ones that have to pay those merchant fees. And the credit card companies are counting on that. They're like, we're just going to keep turning up the heat because, it's 3%, 3.5%, 4%, and they just keep turning up the water like a boiling frog. And the merchants they just take it.
Yeah, just keep paying it. No, and it's interesting because if you're a small business and you're charging people and you don't have some sort of fee pass through, in reality, like, this is a mindset thing, but in reality, the cost is already built in there, whether you like it or not. You might not be charging enough, right? Your cost of goods sold might suck because you're not using a good bookkeeper and measuring shit the right way, which it always baffles me when people don't have merchant processing in their cost of goods sold. And I'm like, oh, you did that job, you didn't plan on getting paid for it? You thought it was just going to be like a donation that you were going to do? You were surprised when you got paid for a job? No, it's like, you're either going to pay a credit card processor, you're going to pay your manager to run around with a check and put the deposit in. You're paying somebody to do the transaction. No matter what, you got to decide what's the level you're willing to pay. And we always had a rule that if it was over $1,000 job, like, just give me a check. Let's collectively avoid the processing fees. But I think, like, that's a decision you're always making about every job. It's part of the cost of the sale. It's built in.
Yeah.
And so I like your angle on it. It's like, yeah, it's in there. It's already in there. You can't avoid it. And more and more and more people are just going to default to paying with a credit card. I don't know why that mindset has taken so long to adapt to. And the perception of, hey, here's the price, but actually, if you want to save a few bucks, versus here's the price. Oh, but actually, if you want to pay that way, it's this. It's like, it's the same thing, but nobody wants that, which is, here's the price. Oh, you want to pay that way, so here's the price. But that's what everybody seems to do. Like, everybody.
Yeah, and this way it totally avoids the contractor, or from having that uncomfortable conversation. It's like, the painter or the landscape guy or the power washer is like, oh, you want to pay with a credit card? Oh, well, here or there. Or it's like, hey, would you pay me with Zelle or something else? And you kind of go through this weird, like, uncomfortable thing where it's this. We remove that altogether. It's like you just send them the invoice. It's like, here are your choices. Like, I don't care how you pay. Like, just one or the other. Like, here you go. And it just removes that conversation out. It removes because at some point you're almost like, am I dealing with a professional here? Like, why are we having this weird, awkward conversation? Like, you're my painter. Like, why are we talking about finances? And like, you're being all weird about payment. And now it seems kind of sketchy. It's like, no, this just adds a level of professionalism, and they don't have to have the conversation. And it's just the customer's choice. 100%.
I had a really interesting vendor interaction. This was a decade ago at my old house. And I'm also a nerdy finance guy, so I'm probably like the one dude that was offended by this. But I had somebody from Pella Windows and Doors come out, and we had a couple of window replacements to do. And he's like, here's the price, but you can finance it for this price at 0% interest. And I'm like, well, obviously there's interest. Those are two different prices. Like, what is the interest rate built into there? Like, here's the cash price. Here's the price if I finance it. One is $3,500. One is $4,300. That's called interest. That's an $800 difference. And you want me to pay it over 3 years, and it's going to be this amount. So like, but you're saying it's 0% interest. Can you just tell me what interest rate that is? Like, I assume you guys have this calculated. I'm not afraid to pay interest. Like, I'm a finance guy. There's levels of interest I'm willing to pay to keep my cash to do other things. But if it's 20% interest or 15%, I'm not trying to do that, right? Like, if it's 3%, like my mortgage, yeah, give me some more money. I'll take it. Like, I'll use my cash doing other things. I know I can go generate more than a 3% return. And he was like, no, man, it's 0% interest. And I was like, yeah, but it's not. Like, don't try to convince me that it's. And he just like stayed on this horse. And I was like, fucking A, man, I'm going to tell you what the interest rate is. So that I'm not going to buy from you, but let me educate you on how to calculate an interest rate, because there's obviously interest in here. And if it's 3 years and here's the difference, I was like, stay right here. Like, this is valuable for you as a salesperson. You need to know how to do this, because you're going to get a nerd like me that's going to know that you guys are like being shady bastards. And it was 15% interest that they were building into this 0% interest. And I was like, I'm not interested, and I'm not buying from you because either you're dumb or you're dishonest. I don't know which one, but either way, I'm not.
He was probably just uneducated, just parroting what somebody had told him. Like, he just didn't know. Like, somebody said it's 0%, it's 0%, and it's like, well, it's 0%. Like, he's probably just uneducated and didn't know. And it's amazing. Like, it's lack of sales skills, like, just to immediately like throw out financing options before like anybody ever asks for them, and then like, you're like pulling this like money lever of 0%, just desperately trying to close the sale, and then you don't even know what you're talking about.
I was like, you lied to the wrong guy today, buddy. Like, now I gotta teach you. I can't help myself, man. Let me show you how to calculate back into an interest rate.
It's
so
that scene in Boiler Room. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. No.
Boiler Room? Oh yeah, with Matt Damon, and it's about finance guys like in boiler rooms, like picking up calls, and they're doing finance and these shady deals. But this guy is like the main character. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he's like a really great salesperson, and he's sitting at home one day, and in the morning, and this newspaper salesman calls him, and he's like, hey, we're calling to see if you want a subscription this. And he's like, no. And the guy's like, okay, sorry. And he's like, wait a minute, wait, that was your pitch? Like, you're just gonna hang up the phone? And he like schools this guy and teaches him how to make a pitch. And so the guy teaches him how, and then the guy finally ends up giving him a pitch. He's like, so do you want to buy? He's like, no. Click.
That was kind of what happened with me in the Pella Windows. Like, okay, so it's this. You want to do the cash thing then? No, get out of my house, man. So we bought some Geldon. We bought some Geldon and replaced some windows instead. Roger, we should have done this sooner, but how does somebody get a hold of you if they need some merchant processing help, if they're running a small business, and obviously if you're out there and you're listening, you're on a small business, probably everybody that's listening, and you're running credit cards. How does somebody get a hold of you, Roger, if they're interested in checking out what you got?
Yeah. So they can reach out to me at compassionprocessing.com. They can email me at feefixer@compassionprocessing.com. And those are probably the two easiest ways to get a hold of me. They can always find me on Facebook at I'm on there. I don't even know what my Facebook handle is. Like somebody asked me that earlier today, so I probably should have prepared for that. They can reach me on my Instagram. I know my Instagram is the Roger Sullivan. I know that, but yeah, feefixer@compassionprocessing.com is probably the best and easiest way to get a hold of me. And we offer free audits. Like I was saying, like if you don't know what your statement is, or you're talking to a guy like you, and you're like, hey man, your rate is a lot higher than they say it is, and you want to find out where it's at. We go through people's statements all the time for free, and we'll go through and we'll actually show you where you're getting hit. We actually are working on one right now for a pediatric chain. They've got 10 locations down here in Jacksonville, Florida, and they've got one thing that they're getting hit with non-compliance. It's costing them $1,000 a month across 10 locations. And it's we can fix just that one thing, and it's $12,000 a year by somebody filling out 5 minutes worth of paperwork. So
that's some real money. Real money.
Yeah, it is. But it's little, it's always the little nickel and dime stuff. And to your point, when somebody, when you say that they don't build that cost into their cost of goods, and they're just going to pay it, and they end up paying it out of their bottom line, it's really easy for that 3% to become 20%. So if somebody's got if they're doing $1,000 in volume and they're running a 15% net profit margin, and they pay that 3% out of their bottom, that 3% of $100,000 is like 15 grand, or is like 5 grand, right? So it's like, that's 20% of your net profit margin of 15. That's like it's like it becomes a much bigger number. So
yeah,
it's
like
not just 3%.
I was gonna say like a percentage of a percentage. To your point, like my mathematical version of it is like, yeah, if you were at 15 and now you're at 12, like you said, that jump down. Yeah, it feels like it's 3% from 12, but it's 20%. Like it's a monumental hit that you're taking just by losing that or giving it away. And again, like you're probably already, it might be in your price and might not be in your price yet. I try to price with it included in there. I don't give a discount if they pay with anything else, but I don't push it. I don't really give them the option today. But I've talked to you about this. I can't use your service because my damn CRM handcuffs me to their own like processing thing. You and I need to take a look at that and see if there's a way around it. Although my manager, I think yesterday, looked at 2 different CRMs. So we're on the verge of making a change, and then I'm going to be knocking down your door.
Yeah.
And that's like, in hindsight, picking a CRM that is like a handcuff. I don't think I'll ever sign up for again. Like, to lose the ability to shop a thing around, that's like an ancillary outside thing. The CRM is cheap. The merchant processing isn't. Like, that's very clear.
And that's where they get you. And a lot of times you have to calculate how much you're paying for that convenience, right? So I'll give you an example. I've got a home inspector in my local networking group, and his processing is done through his CRM as well. It's specific for home inspectors. So they do the bidding and the scheduling and the mapping and all the bells and whistles. But then for convenience, you can just run your processing through us, and we're going to charge you 3.2% and 30 cents per transaction, whatever it is. But it's super convenient. So we sat down, and I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at how much that convenience is costing you. And so he was spending about $350 a month in merchant processing fees, like not a lot of money, but for his volume, what he does, it's significant. Like, you ask him, it's like, what would $350 a month do? And he's like, well, that's half my truck payment. That's somebody to clean my house. Like, it's like, I mean, give me $350 a month. I'll find a place for it. Right. So I'm like, okay, $350 a month. So how many transactions do you do a month? And he goes, I average 40, maybe 45 transactions. And I said, okay, so if I were to create a standalone billing system for you, and you literally had to take a client's information, type in their name, their address, their email, their phone number, type in an amount, and then click send and send them an invoice. And then once that came back, it came back paid. You literally had to go into your software that you're using and mark that as paid so that it rectifies in your books, because that's what your bookkeeper is going in. How much time would that take you per transaction? And he's like, I don't know, like 2-3 minutes per person. Okay, so now multiply that times 40 people. So 2 minutes times 40, we're 80 people. Let's just say we're at an hour and a half a month. Is that hour and a half worth $350? Because that's what that convenience is costing.
That's what you're signing up for. Yep.
Right. And so when we put it that way, now all of a sudden they're like, okay, yeah, that CRM and that software is really convenient, but I'm paying $350 a month for an hour and a half's worth of work. That's what that convenience is costing me. And then it just becomes a math problem.
I can get a strategic partner from Unique Genius for a hell of a lot better than the cost of the business owner. Then the economics make even way more sense.
Exactly. So if you've got a part-time employee, or you've got a VA that you can pay that extra 90 minutes, a month to be able to do that rectification, and you now don't have to do it and you free your time, you've saved yourself. And so that convenience is costing a lot of money. And so a lot of times it just becomes a math problem. Like, let's actually like look at it and see if it's worth it. And for him, he's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that makes complete and total sense. So we were able to hook him up with a solution that didn't cost him anything, allowed him to be able to recover those fees through dual pricing. And now he's saving. He's like, I got a housekeeper I pay every month to come clean my house. Like, okay, fantastic, perfect. So, but it just comes down to math a lot of times, because that's what the CRMs and these ERMs and ISVs, that's what they do, because they get you in cheap, but they're making all their money on the back end on the processing, because they're making it really, really convenient for you.
Yeah, heck yeah. I got one more. It's getting late your time. It's gonna be past your bedtime here pretty soon, but I got one more closing question for you.
Sure.
Roger, you're the one person that I've asked this question to. I don't know how to ask it, because you've done so many things. I don't know how to caveat this. I'm gonna like leave you to your imagination, because I think, given your history, you come up with a lot of good ideas. So I don't want to like handcuff you too much. I'm just gonna say your answer can't relate to property rentals and can't relate to merchant processing. So I'm gonna squish the couple things you got going on now. But let's say we wake up tomorrow and those industries don't even exist. Everybody writes checks, credit cards don't exist, and Airbnb doesn't exist. There's no property rental business. You gotta go back to either trading time for some dollars, or you got to have your next crazy ass idea. Which your story's hilarious, man. I can't wait till the next time I talk to you. I'm gonna learn about like 50 more things about you. But you wake up tomorrow and you and Amy got to go figure out like what the next thing is, what you're going to go do. And I'm going to say like money exists in the world, right? Like we still have to make trade-offs, but it's not the most important thing. Like it's got to be something you're passionate about and would be like fun for you and maybe pay a few bills too. What the heck would you go do tomorrow?
So, two things, if I could figure it out. If I had the capital to be able to do it, I would probably try to start a funeral services or crematorium, something, because there's money in death, and it's a business that doesn't have a lot of integrity. And that's one of the things that I feel like I bring to merchant services. It's the integrity into a business that doesn't have a lot of it. So there's always money in death because everybody is your customer, because everybody's dying. But if I didn't do that, if that wasn't really on the radar, I would go right back into home services business. I would probably go into an exterior cleaning business, like power washing, soft washing, window cleaning. I just think that there's such an opportunity there in marketing that people are not taken advantage of. I think that somebody can go into that industry, and if they know what they're doing and understand marketing and how to increase their average ticket, how to price correctly, how to get them to sign up for memberships and do all of those things, I think that there is a giant amount of money to be made in home services. And that's being backed up by venture capitalists. They're out there. Those are the businesses that they're buying right now. They are buying home services businesses, and they're looking at them like, okay, what do they have? And then how do we crank them up? They buy a business, and then they start doing all those things. They start increasing, memberships and fees and their pricing and everything like that. And they crank these businesses up. They might buy a business that's, doing pretty good at a 15 to 20% profit margin, and they're cranking it up to 25 to 30%, just squeezing it out. So I think there's a giant opportunity still in home services. And if I had to do something, start over again, I would probably spend $500 and go buy a pressure washer and put it in the back of my car and go start knocking on doors.
It would be really interesting. Well, I had this. I mean, this is interesting. I kind of had this happen. I didn't have a gap in between it, but I was running Blue Skies and partnered in it and tried to buy out my partners, and that didn't go well. So started Best Damn Bookkeeping, but I just spent 5, 6, 7 years building that business and then had to start over again. And damn, it was fun redoing it. Like I can go so much faster, and I know what I screwed up, and I got to like watch it unravel. And so building it a second time was a blast. It'd be really fun, especially for you. I'm just like imagining you and pressure washing, like, yeah, you've done it before. And so you know what you did wrong or know what you could do differently. And then you went and got a bunch of other different business experiences. It'd be really interesting to see, like, if you plug back in and did a business that you had previously done, how it would go now. Like, I'm sure there's some stuff that's changed, but like business is business. And when you have run a whole bunch of different businesses, it just makes you so much more badass at the one you're running now, because you know what to grind through, you know what not to put up with, you know how to deal with employees way better, you know how to like deal with yourself way better and your moods and your ups and downs and what to be, what reality looks like. That'd be a super interesting one to dip back into. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, you think about like the things that I know in my other businesses. Like, I know as a Airbnb owner, like, I know my houses need to get power washed like once or twice a year, especially here in Florida. Like, that'd be one of the first things I did. I'd be like going and networking with all these people that have properties and property managers. I'd be like, hey, I'm your guy, twice a year I'm going to show up, and this is what I'm going to do. And, we're just gonna put you on a maintenance plan. You're not going to have to worry about it. And so now all of a sudden I've just created revenue because I've got people on a maintenance plan that like is money coming in like all the time. Yeah, you just learn stuff. But yeah, I think there's a giant opportunity still exists in home services businesses, and that's probably what I would go back into, is just into that service industry.
It is definitely one where I don't, as technology evolves, I think the service industry is going to be insulated for a bit yet. Because more and more younger people are going to keep outsourcing stuff. Like, it's just not going on. At some point, sure, robots and whatever else and AI and all that stuff. But I think home services are intricate enough where like it's going to be a bit, the robots will continue to be tools for a long time. They won't displace that industry for a while.
Oh yeah. I mean, I walk around my neighborhood just, and just to beat a dead power washing horse. I walk around my neighborhood and I see these people, they pull out their little, Ryobi, electric battery powered pressure washers, and they're trying to do their driveway and they're leaving all the swirl marks. And it's just like, I walk past, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you guys, what are you doing? Like, you just don't know But like I live in an HOA, it's Florida, like houses, mold and they mildew, and you are required to take care of it. And most people, like to your point, they outsource it because they don't know how to do it, or it's not worth it, or they don't, they just don't have the equipment or the time or whatever like that. So,
and people are getting lazier. They're outsourcing more. We're all getting a little lazier.
Yeah.
I don't see that going the other way. I don't see it reversing trend.
Not unless there's a giant EMP that like blows all of these things up and nobody can operate in front of a screen for a while. And then we're really doomed, because we've got a whole entire generation that doesn't know, without YouTube, could not figure out how to change a tire. So,
they really couldn't. Michael Gregory was on my radio show earlier today, and he was talking about there's a big concern of like the newer generations are a bunch of very weak men that don't know how to problem solve, don't know how to be out in the woods, right? Don't know how to actually take care of themselves and like provide. All they know how to do is play video games and dick around on their phone. And like, if the technology disruption happens, they won't know how to survive. Like, that's not, and I'm not saying a woman couldn't either, but like traditionally that is a man's responsibility, is like, I'm going to go keep us all alive. Like, I will go get the food, and I will kill whatever needs to be killed to like keep us alive. They'll have no idea how to do it. They won't know.
Nope. They won't know how to drill a hole in the ice and fish. They just, they won't be able to, like, they won't be able to
watch one of my YouTube videos showing them how to do it after that.
Right.
My views are going to go way down. Damn. All right. Oh, well. Roger, any closing thoughts, any closing comments before we let you go to bed over here?
No, man, this has been fantastic. I'd love to be back anytime. Anytime that you like, get a bunch of people together and you think about me, and I would get into the mix, man. Invite me back. Let's hang out. And I do want to come come up and go ice fishing. Like I will. Yeah. I mean, that sounds cool to me. That my other buddy lives in Minnesota. He's not one of those guys. He like leaves. He comes down to Tampa when his lake freezes over. So I would like to go. I'd like to experience. It'd be good.
It's wild, man. It's wild driving the truck with a camper behind you, being like, I think we're good. Crack, crack.
We're good. Crack.
It cracks as you go. Like, you got the windows rolled down a little bit just in case something crazy happens. Never had it happen. I've seen people go through. Don't want to be in that truck. I usually let other idiots go out first and come. I'm not the last one out there either. But people go through every year because rednecks are dumb, just like business owners. We all got like an edge of stupidity to like push the boundaries to. Yeah, we just got to go. There's fish out there. All right, man.
I got fish to catch and beer to drink.
That's right. It's probably sometimes it's the beer got drank before they went to catch the fish, and that's where the problem starts. Roger, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate you making a nice marathon episode with me. It was a lot of fun. Not that I would have expected anything else, but hell yeah, man. We'll have you back on, and we got to get out ice fishing this winter. We'll do it. Well, I'm lagging like crazy.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, man.
My internet must be lagging, but hey, thanks for hanging. All right, home service homies, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. Nighty night.
Awesome.